Good morning, everyone. I'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank everybody for attending the Loislaw session this morning. My name is Charles Gass. I am the Western Region Marketing Manager with Loislaw. I manage the Loislaw Law School program for the Western states and also in addition, 6 states in the eastern half of the United States at this time as well. Craig Garrett, who is the Law Library Liaison with Aspen Publishers, was also scheduled to speak this morning, and due to scheduling conflicts, he will not be able to attend, so I apologize about that. What I would like to talk to you today, though, is about the Loislaw Law School program, some of the changes we made recently, and some of the product enhancements that will be occurring within this year. Most of you are fairly familiar with Loislaw. We are an electronic publisher of legal research. We've been publishing for over 15 years now. We are owned and managed by Aspen Publishers, who has over 4 years of experience in the legal publishing industry. And it has been a very exciting and very successful marriage thus far. February of 2001 it became effective, and we have now been operating as one of their business units. The Loislaw Law School program was launched in January of 2000. We are currently in over 190 law schools in the United States. We provide complimentary access to all ABA-approved law schools. The program itself, since its inception, has not changed. We still provide complimentary access to all students, faculty, and staff. The desktop requirements, technical requirements, and so forth are essentially the same. Any web browser anywhere with internet connection, you can access Loislaw. Basically, if you're running Internet Explorer, Netscape Navigator, or America Online 4.0 or higher, you'll be in good shape to access the information. We still provide 24/7 technical support for all students, faculty, and staff. One of the nice things about the program is there is no blackout periods with the Loislaw program. So, for instance, if a student is using it over summer break, if they're clerking and so forth, they're free to use it. There's no non-educational usage restrictions associated with the program. So the complimentary access that you receive as a student or a faculty member is to the lowest national collection, and that is the entire databases. We publish case law, statutory law, constitutions, administrative law, court rules, and other authority for all 50 states and D.C., plus the federal law libraries. On a state-by-state basis for case law, generally you're looking at 50 to 100 years of case law, depending on the state. We'll provide rules of the court for the state, complete statutes, legislation and regulation, complete administrative regulations, administrative decisions from state agencies such as AG opinions or decisions from labor boards and so forth. The federal law libraries contain U.S. Supreme Court cases, Supreme Court rules, the federal circuits, the federal district court opinions, bankruptcy court opinions, U.S. tax court, public laws of the United States, the U.S. Code, Code of Federal Regulations, and the Federal Register. And these are the databases that will comprise the law school program. One of the recent additions that we've added to the Loislaw platform is the addition of the Aspen treatise libraries, and that's the area that I want to touch on first today. After that, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the plans we're making for the law school program on the technical side, which would be of particular interest to an administrator for at your school. And then finally, some of the production issues that we have in line for this year. The Aspen treatise libraries that we currently have on board, we have, I believe, 13 libraries up to this time containing antitrust law, Bromberg and Ripstein, corporate law, elder law, family law, internet and e-commerce law, securities, limited liability company, personal injury liability, bankruptcy, construction law, drunk driving defense, evidence, and general litigation. And we'll go in and look at these in more detail here in a moment. The nice thing about having these online, though, is that all the information within the treatises, any information that's cited, you can hyperlink directly into the Lois database, and that is a very valuable tool and a very efficient way of doing electronic research. So we'll take a look at those momentarily. We presented at CALI last summer, and at that time, the law school website looked very different from the current website. When we launched the program, the law school website had a different form, different functionality, and that was detrimental in that we would teach students to use Loislaw in one manner, and then when they would graduate, if they were to become subscribers, although there is a very small learning curve associated with it, they would have to learn it all over again. So effective September of 2000, we did away with the old law school site. Plus, one of the things about the old law school site, we also had banner ads on it, the very top and the very bottom. And these can be somewhat distracting, especially if they are animated, and a lot of them were. These can be very distractive. So the banner ads have gone away. What we did was we completely emulated the practitioner site. So the URL, loislawschool.com, completely emulates the practitioner site in form and function. What I'm going to do is actually go into the website at this time and show you some of the changes that we've, or enhancements that we made, and then we'll take a look at the treatise libraries. The URL to access Loislaw School, and if you don't have access to it, I can promise you everyone in the room does have complimentary access at your school. What you will need is an access code, and that can be easily obtained just by contacting Loislaw. To register, you're simply going to, first off, the URL is www.loislawschool.com. To register, you'll simply just click on the register button, fill out the form, and you'll use the special access code. You'll set up your own user ID, and we will email you the password, and then your access to Loislaw is complete. I'm going to go ahead and log into the site. And this is the personal start page. This is where you'll begin to construct your research. The first item you see is type of law. The second one there is jurisdiction. We'll take a look at those two real briefly. Basically what that is two different ways of getting to the same exact point. If we go in by type of law, we then choose what type of law we want to look at: case law, statutes, codes, legislative acts, administrative rules and regulations, and so forth. So for instance, if we wanted to do a case law search, we'd simply choose case law, and then you'll see the different libraries available in case law. The premium databases, district court opinions, and bankruptcy court opinions, which, although they're noted as premium databases, are also included with the law school access as complimentary. The federal case law databases, and then finally the state law databases. So for instance, if we wanted to do an Arizona, or we can scroll up here and do a U.S. Supreme Court search, we'd simply select the library. We can select multiple libraries and do multiple database searches simultaneously if we wish also. We'll select the library, click Continue, which takes us to the search screen. And the newest function I did want to show you that we've added to the search screen is the Select Site function. When doing searching on Loislaw, of course, you're going to use a Boolean search engine that we use, using the connectors of and, or, near, and not. But for instance, if you wanted to pull up a citation by site, we have the official citation field here. It's very unforgiving in that if you have a space where there shouldn't be one, period where there should be, and so forth, you will get 0 results. So it has to be exact. The select site function takes all the guesswork out of that. So for instance, if we wanted to pull up Miranda v. Arizona, all we'd have to do is type the volume number, select the reporter from the drop-down list, which of course in this instance would be U.S., and then the page number, and then click Run Search, and all the guesswork is taken out of it. There's no syntax issues associated with it. So that's the newest function we've added to the searching on Loislaw this time. Let me go back out to the start page, and as I mentioned earlier, if we were to go in by jurisdiction, it's just a different way of actually going into the same point where we were earlier. This time we'll see the different libraries available and then the different states. And we looked at the U.S. Supreme Court a moment ago. Let's look in Arizona this time. And here are the different libraries that we publish in Arizona. We have case law, statutes, administrative code, Arizona acts, recent cases, and Arizona rules, and the bar books. We do publish bar materials in several different states. At this time, the only bar materials that we publish on the law school site are Arizona, Washington, and the state of Missouri. There'll be more bar materials forthcoming, though, in the future. And going back out to the start page again, the treatise databases. This is the newest information that we have added over this past year, and as I mentioned earlier, we have 13 libraries on board at this time. To access the treatise databases, you're simply going to pick your library over on the left-hand side and double-click it, and that'll open up that database. The info buttons over on the right are going to give you just a brief snapshot of what's contained in each library. Let's use evidence as an example. This now opens the Aspen Treatise Evidence database, and here you see the books that are in it. Wigmore on Evidence, Scientific Evidence and Expert's Handbook, Destruction of Evidence, Evidence Practice Under the Rules, and then there are state-specific materials within the evidence library and also in some of the other treatise libraries. For evidence, we have state-specific materials for Illinois, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut. And just like a moment ago when we were looking in statutes and case law, you can select a single database and construct a search, or you can do multiple database searches if you like. Let's go in and open up Wigmore, and I can give you an example of how to construct searches in the treatise library. We selected Wigmore. Now this will take us to the search screen, which looks very similar to the one we looked at previously. There's two different ways of actually going in and looking at the text in Wigmore. If we wanted to look in Wigmore like you were flipping through a book, we can simply go into Table of Contents, and then at this point you'll see all the chapters and sections within Wigmore. So I can scroll down a little bit here. Here you see Chapter 1, Introduction, Scope of the Subject, and Preliminary Distinctions. If we want to actually look at that text, there's not much there, but you would just double-click on the link, and that now opens it. If we wanted to flip through it like it were a book, at the top and bottom of each page, you'll see Previous Document in Book, or Next Document in Book. Clicking that will take us to the next page. And that's one manner of perusing through the materials. The most effective way, and the nicest thing about having it online electronically, is being able to go in and do searches and pull up exactly what you're looking for. And we have three different ways of going about that. Search entire document, or we can just search within the heading, or section text, which is going to include all the text within the document excluding the heading at the top. So for instance, if we were interested in looking and dealing with something, contamination of evidence within the chain of custody, we can set up a search phrase using those connectors of and, or, near, and not. I can say chain. Let me change that. Contamination and chain near custody. What this will do now is go through just the Wigmore libraries. It's going to pull up any document that has the word contamination located within it somewhere. Also, the word chain is going to be found within the document. Then the near connector is going to look for the word custody somewhere within 25 words of the word chain. So we're going to a phrase here, chain, within 25 words, the word custody. We can also modify that near connector. For instance, if we wanted to only look within 2 words of the word chain, we could just say near to, and that would modify the near connector and so forth. In a moment, we'll go in and do another search using simply just a phrase. But let's go ahead and run this, and I can show you how the information is brought back. We had 4 documents that contain that information. The first one here, Section 2129, General Principle of Authentication. What it will do, once you click on that, it'll take you into the text of the Wigmore chapter, and it's going to take you to the first occurrence of one of your search words. So we see contamination here highlighted in yellow. If we click the little arrow after the word, we can navigate the document by hits. So now this takes us down to the phrase chain of custody. If I scroll down a little more, you see anything that's been cited, for instance, Stafford v. Stafford. You can hyperlink now directly into the lowest database, and this will bring up that case. Let me go back out and construct another search. I mentioned just a moment ago using phrases. Let's do a search saying we're looking for any document containing burden of proof. I can simply just type in that phrase, burden of proof, and what it will now do is go across all the databases and pull up that phrase exactly. We don't need to put quotations around it. It'll locate it exactly. When you do need to be careful about doing searches with our phrases is when your phrase contains a connector. So for instance, if we ran a search that said search and seizure, or assault and battery. In those instances, it would not treat it as a phrase. It would treat it as two different words, and they would not be together within the text. When you're searching with phrases that contain connectors, you're going to want to use quotation marks around it, and then it will ignore the connectors in the phrase. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this search, and again, it's going to go through the Wigmore database, and it's going to return the documents. We had 155 hits this time out of 2,963 documents. It's going to return documents by how many hits occurred within the document. So this first one here, section 2493K, had the most hits containing burden of proof. We scroll down here just a little bit. Section 2486, I'll go ahead and open that, and here you see the phrase burden of proof. If we wanted to save this search that we just did, it's real easy to do that. We can just click Save Search and come back in at a later point and pull up exactly what we were looking at previously. You can also activate a Law Watch, and this is very effective when doing a case law search. Law Watch is basically just a clipping service that will monitor the databases for any new court decisions or legislative acts, and you can be notified at on your start page if any new decisions have been handed down, or you can also be notified via email, or both actually. At this point, if we wanted to go ahead and global cite this document, we can activate that over in the lower left-hand corner. What that will do now is go across all of the lowest databases and pull up any document where section 2486 of Wigmore on Evidence has been cited. And the results will be returned on the basis of the type of document. For instance, case law is going to come back first, so we have this first case here, and case law will be returned in reverse chronological order. So the first case we're looking at was argued April 22nd of this year. And if we scroll down more, we'll see more cases. And then finally, as we get toward the bottom, any section within Wigmore that also cites this particular section will then be included within the hit list. The treatises are not part of the law school program. They are a subscription-based service. However, we do offer educational discounts associated with this, and depending on how you wish to administer it at your particular institution will also depend on your subscription rate. If this is something you'd be interested in looking at, a sales rep would be happy to drop by and give you some of the various pricing information and what would be the most effective way of and cost-effective way of implementing it at your institution. There's a lot of information there to digest, and what I would recommend is taking a free look at the treatise libraries as well. And we're willing to make the entire comprehensive treatise databases available to your institution for a free look for 90 days. So there for about 3 months, almost a complete semester, you can have complimentary access to all the treatise databases. So this is something I hope to take advantage of, and it's been it's been very well received in the practitioner community as well. Let me move on and tell you a little bit about what we're working on as far as the technical end of Loislaw. We've had a lot of schools that has expressed interest in wanting to know how often the databases are being used and so forth and so on. What we've done over the summer, and we've begun working on an administrator page or administrator utility portal on the law school website, and this will be a password protected field, something that an administrator or library staff member would have access to. We are planning on releasing this in August of this year, providing other issues don't arise between now and then. At the latest, probably September, but we're looking at an August release date at this current time. What we'll be able to provide from this access page is just basic general statistics for your institution. And I'm going to stand up here and really oversimplify the process that goes into it, but basically each school is driven off of the individual code, this access code that you use when you register. This identifies each code, so we'll be able to provide general statistics for each school based upon this code. We won't be able to provide specific user statistics. For instance, if I logged in, you wouldn't be able to go back and find out exactly where I've been going. You'll get very generic statistics as far as how much usage has occurred at your institution. We're going to be able to tell you successful hits for the entire site, the average hits per day, page views, average per day, document views, as far as visits, average per day, and the average length of the visit. Database usage, and this will be probably of the most particular interest, is what particular documents is the population at your institution accessing the most? Are they looking at federal documents? Are they looking at state documents? If so, are they looking at case law? Are they looking at statutes and so forth? So you'll be able to get a percentage volume of how much of what documents have been accessed and the average time that was spent in these particular areas. Finally, you'll have access to the registration database. As I indicated earlier, when students register and when faculty registers, they set up their own user ID. We email the password. We don't automatically, or we don't manually set up the accounts. The password is a computer-generated password. On an annual basis, Loislaw either sends schools a registration list and asks for you to audit it so that we can go back and clean out those that are no longer students or no longer on faculty, or you can send us a list and we'll compare it against our records. The registration database utility will allow the school to actually go in if they choose and monitor the database and audit the database as well. Loislaw will still do it for you, but this gives you a lot of control as far as who has access to what and so forth. We'll be able to tell you the name, user ID and password, the email address, the registration date, the last time the individual signed in, the number of logins, and the first, second, and whether they're a first, second, or third year law student. So again, this is something that's we've developed based upon request from the academic community, and I think it'll be a very nice tool just to know how the students are accessing information and so forth. Finally, we want to talk to you a little bit about what our plans are for the future as far as new materials being published on Loislaw. I'm just going to highlight a few things. We actually have a very aggressive and exciting production schedule for the rest of the year, but some of the highlights in particular, for the month of July, we currently go back to 1899 in the U.S. Supreme Court database. Effective July 1, we will go back to Book 1 for the U.S. Supreme Court. Some of the treatise libraries we're going to be publishing is the Products Liability Library, Corporate Counselors Library. We'll begin publishing the Insurance Library, Estate Planning Library, and then back into the primary database, Texas Writ Histories prior to October of 1997 are going to be added to the database. Oops. In August, we will begin adding California County forms and rules. This is going to be in addition to the California Judicial Council forms that we already publish, and this will be a very nice addition to the California Library. These forms are published in a PDF format, and they are fillable online, so they're a very nice tool, a very excellent time saver in that you can actually type them online and print them off. So those will be added in August. We'll be adding the Licensing Library, Employment Discrimination Law and Practice Library, Employment Law and Practice Library, Minnesota Unpublished Decisions from May of '96 to present. October, Annotated Federal Statutes and Annotated Statutes for all states. December, we're going to archive statutes all states. The Asset Management Library will be added as well. So those are the main things that will be occurring over the next few months with Loislaw. Those are just some of the highlights. We have a lot of other information that we're adding. Actually, new information is being added to the website almost on a daily basis. Some of the most noticeable things will be the new treatise libraries that they're adding, and it seems like it's not a hard schedule, but it has been over the summer and during the winter. About every 3 weeks we've added a new library. It's been a very aggressive production schedule that they've been working on. As I mentioned earlier, you have complimentary access. If you haven't taken a look at it in a while, I hope you'll take time to take advantage of it and look at it again. I've left some materials in the back of the room that'll give you an overview of the program as well as a user guide that'll give you a how-to as far as how to utilize Loislaw. We also have a table outside, an Aspen Publishers table, where you can pick up some information, or if you'd like to talk to me about arranging training at your school or having collateral sent to your school, I'd be happy to talk with you. Also, if you would like some information on Aspen Publishers, the legal education unit itself, we have several representatives here from Aspen that would be happy to talk with you as well. I appreciate your time, and at this point, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes, sir.
This the last part of that state statutes
Mm-hmm. Both.
both.
Yes.
The annotations and was already in the Loislaw database.
I believe that's correct.
Would it link to the treatises also that are in the Loislaw database?
Yes, it will.
The writ histories for Texas, like the unpublished papers for Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
you gave those in a list of treatises, but those weren't part of that treatise package, but they're in a regular case law section.
That is correct. Yes. I think so. I think so. Well, thank you all very much, and please stop by and visit with us before all the meetings conclude. And I hope your meetings are enjoyable and successful. Thank you.